Not a day goes by where drama can't exist in the Star Wars fandom. I don't know if you've heard it yet or not, but Gina Carano and Disney has reached a settlement, and people are angry about this. Why are people mad that Gina and Disney have reached a settlement and agreement within this case? I don't know. Maybe they hate women. Maybe they don't want equality. Maybe they don't want due justice served diligently. You ask me, I don't know. What I do know is I'm going to follow the facts. Gina Carano got on Twitter, she made a couple statements, and she was wrongfully terminated for her statements online. Where have I seen this before? Truthfully, I haven't really seen a lot of it because actors don't face the same kind of punishments that Gina Carano did. And here's my sources. First off, you got Mark Hamill doubling down for the past 4 years about his political ideology and campaign support of the Democrat Party and constant negligent behavior towards the opposite political party. Okay. You got Pedro Pascal saying something vaguely similar to what Gina Carano said, and he didn't get fired for it. He got position and role and casting one after another after another after another. The media basically loaded you up on Pedro Pascal to blindside you. The lamer, less cool Bruce Banner, aka Mark Ruffalo, also has weighed in a lot about a political opinion lately. Now I'm pretty sure I can add a lot more names to this list, but I'm going to stop it right there because those are the big three that come to mind first. Some of the biggest stars in cinematic history right now facing the same kind of case that Gina Carano could face. And I'm going to use the word could because I want to be as clear as possible when I say this. If Disney would have continued to pursue Gina Carano and not make a settlement with her and get her back into the opportunities that she's supposed to have, Disney would also have to go back and go after Mark Hamill, Mark Ruffalo, Pedro Pascal, and any of the other actors who also took a similar stance in the political field. This isn't a battle of whose politics are right. This is a battle of equality, because it doesn't matter if you're on the left side, the right side, if you're in the center field, it does not matter at the end of the day. Politics are about one thing and one thing only, in my mind at least, helping unify the people. And when politics begin to play both sides of the picket fence and can't pick a side to actually go for the people, they are no longer politics for the people. This affects every single body, not just Gina Carano, not just the actors that I listed. This affects you and me. Actually, there's only one actor that comes to my mind as long as I've been alive that has as much female cojones as Gina Carano, and I'm going to give it to my princess, Carrie Fisher. As long as Carrie Fisher was under the Star Wars IP, she said some off-the-wall type stuff. So kudos, Gina Carano, for standing your ground, holding on to your values, and really sticking it to Disney on this one. I'm extremely proud, and I'm also super excited and hopeful that you will return to your rightful spot in The Mandalorian. What I'm not proud of is how Star Wars fans are choosing to react to this subject, because it just shows a very, very toxic trend of vitriol that comes across the fandom within different waves. One minute you have everybody supporting Gina Carano. Next you have everybody turning against Gina Carano because a settlement was reached. Do these people not understand that if she would have failed, the IP franchise that you know and love, which is Star Wars, but not only Star Wars, Marvel, any Disney banner title, would drastically change. It's crazy that in 2025, one of the biggest things I have to worry about is how other people are going to react to my personal opinions over different subjects. And just for clarification, I really don't care what people think about me. I really don't care if you agree or disagree with what comes out of my mouth, because at the end of the day, you aren't me. I am. It's absolutely okay for us to believe in two different sides of a political opinion. Sometimes there's a great gray center of that opinion that we can find a middle ground on if we only choose to talk about it. However, that's another issue that the Star Wars fandom seems to always get twisted is there's never a general debate conversation on topics. It always seems to come down to, well, I don't disagree with what you say, so I'm going to end up insulting you and name-calling and bullying and harassing and, I don't know, inflating my own ego to a point where I feel like I'm doing, the right kind of work, but at the end of the day, I'm just being an intolerable asshole type of people. What's truly sad is I can't show support to not only Gina Carano for her bold decisions, but it's also hard when it comes down to supporting actors of all ethnicities and the decisions that they're making, because then you're always going to have somebody coming at you trying to make a bigoted type comment. And we've seen a lot of this too in Star Wars, as in the recent years. John Boyega is a very vocal actor when it comes down to the subjects of racism in the Star Wars IP, because he's a huge victim of it himself. Let's face it, a lot of people around the world, and I'm not just speaking specifically towards the US, but a lot of people around the world are racially motivated to hate on John Boyega. And now I understand some of you watching this, you might actually love and support John Boyega, but you need to take a second and think about what happened when the sequel trilogy was coming out. A lot of us Star Wars fans wanted Finn to be a Jedi, wanted the best for him. We really resonated with his character. Other places around the world weren't prominent towards Finn. They weren't prominent towards John Boyega's character. And it even went as far as, and even got bad enough to where Chinese marketing was dropping the character from a lot of its different promotional material. Now, you might be in disbelief of that conversation, but let's look at Star Wars The Acolyte, and the marketing surrounding The Acolyte is one of the biggest bell ringers that a lot of people, it's just going right over their heads. All of these contextual arguments that people are using, the racism, the bigotry, the sexism and stuff, it applies to The Acolyte as well, because it's things that happen towards the actors in the series. A lot of the cast were not predominantly white people. Thus, lots of comments online were made about the casting of the show being poor choice. And in my opinion, people have got that really far from the truth, because each of these actors did a phenomenal job in the show that they were cast in. I mean, Amanda did a perfect job representing both Osha and May. But full stop, full pause. That's not the problem. Star Wars fans are going to say in the bottom of these comments that's the issue. They're going to talk about how Leslie and Amanda got up there and started ridiculing Star Wars fans. They weren't ridiculing you guys. When we're looking at marketing, they're using these same comments and I guess you could call them arguments that are used against modern Star Wars against the fandom to draw your attention in. They called Star Wars fans gay. They called Star Wars fans bigots. They called Star Wars fans racist. Because that's what the fandom is associating with. When a fandom latchkeys onto an idea and uses it in every single media production that comes out under the IP as criticism, as invalid remarks towards the production of the series, why wouldn't you use that as a coin opportunity and turn it around on the fandom and use it for marketing to draw interest in your show? A lot of people will say, this doesn't draw interest in The Acolyte, it only makes us hate it more. But if it only makes you hate it more, why would you continue to bring it up 1 year after its production run? Skeleton Crew isn't doing that. Kenobi is barely doing that. The only Star Wars shows that get talked about on a daily basis seems to be Star Wars The Mandalorian, Ahsoka, Andor, and The Acolyte. So in our final 50 seconds of this video, let's take a second to stop and think. Freedom of speech. What does it entail into the details of how these actors create this glorious franchise for us, and how could it affect it in the future when the owner of the IP has an issue with what people say and do online? But not only that, hold an actress liable for the things she said online, but choose not to hold others accountable for the things that they've done to the IP. I get it. It's trendy to hate on Star Wars when you don't know a lot about the IP itself, but that doesn't make it right. When situations like these arise, it reminds us of the needs and importances of being human versus being trendy.